How do you identify the proper perspective? Because there's really no 100% this is the perspective you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
But how is it that when you're in moments where discipline is what the real lesson, the underlying lesson of everything is, delayed gratification, discipline, consistency, how is it that some people are able to figure that out, other people don't?
I think people always move towards the path of least resistance. So no matter what, people are going to choose the easiest way out. They're going to move to pleasure and move away from pain. Because even in marketing, one of the biggest tools in marketing, if I were to give someone something that would make them $1 million today, just marketing psychology, marketing advice, it would be for any of your headlines, for any of your websites, for any of your product pages, you just want to double their pleasure and half their pain. Those two things. So I could say something as simple as make twice as much money with half the work. Because the work is the pain, but making money is the pleasure. So by saying make twice as much money, I double the pleasure. With half as much work, I half the pain. And because of that, it automatically just converts better, no matter what, if it's on a website, on a funnel, on ad, like that is the core message you want to convey in any of your marketing materials, anything you ever create, that is the message you want to have.
And how did you come about identifying that?
Well, so I think about it, right? When you look at the world, what are things that people get addicted to? Drugs, porn, I don't know, food, right? All of these vices and addictions people have, it's always something that brings you pleasure, right? When I eat, like I feel fucking great, right? And there was something that says sugar is equally or more addictive than cocaine, right? Drugs, I've done drugs before, and when you do drugs, it releases chemicals in your brain that are pleasure chemicals. So you might think like, oh, I have this pleasure, but it's just from the drugs. And same thing when you have sex, that's what happens, or porn in the same way. So the most addictive things is just a release of dopamine. It's pleasure. Right. What are things that people avoid? Pain. They hate going to the gym. They avoid going to the gym because it's painful. They don't like working because it's painful. They don't like anything that involves like making their life difficult. They avoid it. So for me, it was almost like a natural balance, or I'm sorry, a natural progression where I see things and I'm observant. Yeah. Right? I'm diligent, meticulous, analytical.
Hey, you're almost there. You're almost there.
Observant.
That one was in there, but I'm that as well. I appreciate it.
So I'm observant, and I literally just look at it. I'm like, this makes so much sense. It takes an idiot to not see it, right? Or like someone that's in denial because they're ignoring it. Right. So for you, I mean, you work real hard, right? And people might look at you and be like, oh, one thing I hate, people look at people like you, YouTubers, content creators, and they're like, oh, his life's so easy, all he does is make YouTube videos. But I know from experience, you're a very hard worker. Because I've tried YouTube, it's fucking difficult. And I have the luxury of like doing whatever I want, and I can sit all day and make YouTube videos. I can't do it. You sit there and you make a ton of content. I see you posting content every single day at like a consistent pace. People don't realize how hard that is because they're looking from the outside in, you know? So for you, how did you manage to check your brain chemicals in that way so that you actually put the pain in to then have that everlasting pleasure?
I think it goes back to like, and I'm happy that you mentioned dopamine, because I think with different people, and I'll get to the question, but I don't want to make this first point. With different people, there's individuals who get that dopamine hit in the day, and immediately they think, how can I get another one? How do I get to another? How do I get to another one? And there's others who fall into complacency. They got their dopamine hit. Oh, well, I got there. I'm good for the rest of the day. Yeah. And then there's no pursuit for that again. Because there's some people who say, well, if I've tasted success, I want to make sure I never not taste success. Versus those who are like, oh, I made it. Yeah. But then what really is making it? So then for me, I think it goes back to what we talked about in the prior episodes where, what is your why? So for me, it was like, all right, I recognize YouTube's a long game. Yeah. I'm not going to be one of those people who get from 0 to 1 million subscribers overnight like that. I may have the charisma, may have the personality, may have the content, may have the voice, may have the dashing good look, whatever the case may be. I can have an idea of, well, I'll get from here to here, but it takes time to get to that point. Yeah. So to get from 0 to 1,000 subscribers is incredibly tough, but you're not gonna get there if you don't do the work. Exactly. So essentially, I was in a situation where when I started, I didn't have like the aesthetic, I didn't have the camera, I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do, I didn't have the finances behind me, because I think when you had started really posting, you know, YouTube videos, you already to some degree,
I had $1 million already.
Exactly, yeah. Right? So I was legit coming from debt, like I was in the red. right? I got my parents' credit cards. They still don't know the transaction. I still use it till this day. But nevertheless, you know, how you think I got to Florida? But with all that being said, I looked at it like, all right, in order to get to where I want to go, I'm going to have to keep grinding. Then when you get into a rhythm, you recognize, okay, I'm getting the views, I'm getting the subscribers, I'm building the community, but if I slow down now, people's attention spans are so short. If I disappeared for 365 days, they're gonna go on to somebody else. You might miss me for a month at maximum, maybe 2 months, those people who are really in there, because I always look at it as a tenth of a percent. So if I have 1,000 subscribers, I got 100 people who are consistently watching, and then of that, I got 10 people who's like, oh, I really want to see what's coming next from this guy. And maybe about 1 or 2 who's like, whatever the hell this guy posts, I'm going to follow him anywhere.
Yeah.
So in my mind, like right now, I'm approaching 700,000, call him flex. But I'm from there, I look at it like, yo.
Dollars or subscribers?
Huh? What?
Dollars or
dollars
subscribers?
Oh, no, it can't possibly be dollars. I mean, come on now. Like the IRS is wondering, where's my tax money? I don't got it. So, you know, my pockets are empty. But with all of that, I look at it like a tenth of a tenth percent.
Yeah.
So although I have that number, in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I only got 700 people who really, you know, follow me. I only got about 70 people. So that way it keeps me moving forward. So although I can get the dopamine hit, I never rest on my laurels. So I just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And there's a lot of people who look at me like, man, you know, you've gotten to a point where you can be comfortable. I'm like, who told you that?
Yeah.
Like, you'll never know. So I keep it in a situation where I keep going. The game never ends.
And the thing about society right now and the world that we live in, 2 things. One, it's easier than it's ever been to make $1 million. It's easier than it's ever been to make $1 million. I think there's 1,600 new millionaires every single day. Because the world we live in, you got the internet, you have access to the entire world. Everything is decentralized, so literally, doesn't matter who's against you. The entire system could be against you. If you're putting out good content, good shit, people will find it, they will like it, they will follow you, you will make money. No matter what, anyone in today's world can become a millionaire. So it's the easiest it's ever been. But at the same time, it's also the hardest it's ever been, because now the entire world is set up to fuck with your dopamine, right? Because everything's so accessible, the internet's so accessible, ways to make money are so accessible, all the other shit is too. Distractions are super accessible. Porn is super accessible. Easy, quick dopamine, Instagram scrolls, TikTok scrolls, super accessible. Everything, all these little like games on your phone, right, or games on your computer, those games are set up to be addictive because they want to take your time. So every time you click a button on a little video game, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. You're on Call of Duty, you shoot someone in Call of Duty, dopamine hit. The entire world is set up for you to win, but it's also set up for you to fail, because now your dopamine is just getting fucked up. Everything you do, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. But at the same time, if you look at it the opposite perspective, it's so easy to make money. And I think what we're seeing now is a great divide. A lot of people are just going straight to nothingness. They're just wasting their time. People are making so much money off of other people's time by providing this quick, easy dopamine. And there's a lot of people that are making a lot of money because they've learned this and they've mastered it. So you're getting like almost like a separation where some people are getting this quick dopamine, some people are preserving their dopamine and saving it for the actual real world gratification, satisfaction.